deeply human about watching fire go out. Something that reaches further back than language, further back than memory, all the way to the first ancestor who understood what darkness after warmth really means. She felt it first, that particular silence where heat used to be. He felt it when she woke him. And in the wordless exchange between them, just a look, just a breath, an entire conversation happened. We need fire. We don't have fire. We need to find fire. He tried. The friction method is one of the oldest technologies in human history. A straight, dry spindle, a flat, softened board, a notch carved just right to catch the ember. Pressure, speed, more speed, the smell of hot wood, thin smoke rising. His hands worked until they bled. Nothing. There are mornings when the wood is too damp, the air too humid, the angle not quite right, and fire simply refuses to come. This was one of those mornings. She was the one who saw it. On the horizon, impossibly distant, just a thread of white against the pale blue sky, something was rising. Not smoke from a fire, something steadier. Something that did not flicker or drift. A column, permanent, patient. She pointed. He saw it and stepped back. He recognized it. It was the same thing that had chased them across the plain 2 days before. That cloud of white that moved without wind, that burned without flame, that filled the air with something that made your eyes water and your head spin. Whatever it was, it lived in that direction. She was already walking towards it. The savanna between them and the horizon was not empty. It never is. A herd of buffalo, 300 animals moving as one organism, crossed their path like a slow river of muscle and horn. They pressed themselves flat into the grass and let the thunder pass over them. The ground shook. The dust was suffocating. The hooves came close enough to feel the air move. And then it was quiet again. They stood up, looked at each other, and kept walking. Because when you have no fire, and there is something on the horizon that might be fire, you keep walking. The landscape changed before they arrived. The grass thinned. The soil darkened, turning from red-brown to almost black, laced with pale mineral deposits the color of old bone. Cracks appeared in the earth, thin at first, then wider, and from the deepest ones, wisps of steam curled upward like the breath of something sleeping underground. She crouched over one of these cracks and held her hand above it. Warm. The earth itself was warm. They smelled it before they saw it. Sulfur. Minerals. Something ancient and chemical that had no name in any vocabulary they possessed. It stung the eyes slightly, made the back of the throat tighten. And then they heard it. A deep, rhythmic exhalation, like the breath of something vast, regular as a heartbeat, building, 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 and then releasing in a roar that split the air. They came over the ridge and stopped. Below them, rising from a cone of pale orange mineral deposits, a column of steam and superheated water launched itself 40 meters into the sky. The sound was not like anything either of them had ever heard. It was not fire. It was not an animal. It was not the river. It was not the wind. It was the earth itself, breathing out. Every few minutes, without fail, it happened again. Build, pressure, release. The ground shaking slightly underfoot, the air thick with vapor, the steam column catching the morning light and turning it white and gold. He stepped backward. She stepped forward. This is how human progress has always worked. One person who steps back from the unknown. One person who steps forward into it. Both of them necessary, both of them right. The superheated water that a geyser releases has travelled a long journey to reach the surface. Rainwater seeps into the earth, sometimes for years, sometimes for decades. It descends through cracks in the volcanic rock until it reaches a region where the geothermal heat is intense enough to boil it. The pressure builds. The only direction is up. And when it finally reaches the surface, it comes out changed, mineral-rich, scalding, furious with stored energy. For hundreds of thousands of years, this particular geyser had been performing this cycle for no audience at all. Today, for the first time, someone was watching. She discovered the clay by accident, a yellow-orange mineral deposit at the edge of a natural hot spring pool. Warm, pliable, unlike anything either of them had worked with before. She pressed it between her fingers. It stretched. It held its shape. When she pressed it against the gaps in the woven container they had built, it sealed them. She filled the container with hot spring water. It held. For a moment, she simply stood there, holding warm water in her hands, in the middle of a volcanic landscape, 1,000 kilometers from anything that would one day be called civilization, and understood something that had never been understood before. You did not need fire to cook. The earth would cook for you if you knew how to ask. What followed was not fast. Nothing real ever is. Stone by stone, they built the channel. A primitive aqueduct, crude by any later standard, but built with an intelligence that required no blueprint, no education, no language more complex than observation and trial and error. She designed it. He carried the weight of it. She sealed the gaps with mineral clay. He moved the obstacles. The cobra that lived in the rock formations near the geyser was not driven away. It was accommodated. Its territory was mapped, each burrow noted, each path avoided. The channel route was adjusted to leave its world intact. The cobra did not know what a compromise was, but it was living inside one. The wet skin masks were her invention. Damp material pressed against the nose and mouth filters particles, reduces the concentration of irritants reaching the lungs. It is the same principle behind every gas mask ever built. The same principle that would, hundreds of thousands of years later, save lives in mines and factories and burning buildings. She discovered it by accident, the way most important things are discovered. The night the elephant came, neither of them slept again until dawn. He was old. His tusks were yellowed and worn. He had been coming to this hot spring for decades, longer than they had been alive. He walked past them as if they were stones, drank